Hi, folks. Jason here, founder of One Life Ministries, One Church. I've had a lot of people ask me to share my testimony online. Uh, I was kind of hesitant to do that. There is a lot of personal things, but I feel like it needs to be told. Um, and it may take 2 or 3 sessions to do this. So I guess we'll label tonight part one. The last thing I want to do is bore you with an hour testimony, but um, a lot of people ask me all the time, like, how did you know that you had this prophetic gift or this prophetic anointing on your life, and how did you know you were called to the ministry? And I think a lot of people, even in our group here on Thursday nights, struggle with that question. How do you know what you're called to? What is God asking me to do? Well, it didn't come easy for me. I guess we'll start at the beginning. And honestly, from as far back as I can remember, from the time I was a young boy, I I just knew there was something different. I always just felt like I didn't fit in. I was usually a major introvert. I was always the last one to get picked for the baseball games. I can remember in gym class, just feeling left out all the time. You know, you would go shirts and skins, and all the other kids would get picked, and I was that kid as well. I guess we'll take Jason. So I was bullied a lot. I was picked on a lot. I just kind of felt like an outcast, and I never really knew why. But I had a lot of, I guess, what you would call deja vu episodes when I was a young boy. I would dream stuff, and then, 2 or 3 weeks or even a month later, I would find myself actually in that same setting, just like a deja vu setting, like I've been here before. And I just really never fit in. We started, my mom and dad started sending me to church with the neighbors. They were attending Church of the Nazarene, and there was a lot of great people in that church, and I have a lot of great memories. But I can remember um, being at church camp when I was probably 9 or 10 years old, and we would, I was always homesick. I always craved home. But I can remember almost having like an outer body experience, and I began to hear God's voice even at a young age. And I honestly, to me, it was kind of scary because I thought, man, I'm going crazy. I'm hearing voices, and I just knew there was something there. Uh, so this kind of progressed, and it just kind of nothing never changed, and it actually got harder for me as I went to junior high. I was just trying to find my place in that self-discovery journey. And I remember wanting to be popular, and wanting to fit in really bad, and um, just never could find my niche, almost like I was different from everyone else. Um, I remember I went to Reality Gospel Church. It was a full gospel church. It was the first time I had ever been introduced to like a church where the gifts of the Spirit were flowing, tongues and interpretations, prophecies, and it scared me. There was a man who ended up later on being my spiritual father up until the time he died a few years ago, but his name was George Wilson. Uh, I consider him a real prophet. But I was sitting in the back row as a teenager, had really long hair. I turned to music. I'm going to sidestep a little bit, but I actually turned to music because I couldn't find my place. I wasn't doing well in school. I had no interest in studying or any kind of schoolwork. It was just I was interested in girls and being a rock star. So, and I fought a lot of dark things in my life. But I remember sitting on the back row of this church, and we had just come out of worship, Um, and the pastor had started preaching, and right in the middle of the service, George Wilson stood up, uh, which stopped everything, and he turned around and he spoke a word over me. He pointed at me, and you could just feel this presence of God. And he spoke to me, and I'll never forget it. He said, "Young man, Satan is trying to kill you. He has marked you, and he wants to destroy you because of the calling on your life. God has also marked you, and God has an awesome plan for you, and he's going to use you in a great and mighty way to advance the kingdom." And then he sat down. When you're 9, 10 years old, you hear somebody do this to you. It's scary, but I knew it was real because every hair on my hands, my arms, and the back of my neck stood up. And that was my like first encounter. Once again, I just ignored it, and I began to go down that road of dabbling with alcohol, rebellion, sleeping around in high school. Started smoking a lot of weed, doing everything that I knew I shouldn't be doing. In the meantime, I'd run into George Wilson every now and then, and he would always have some kind of word for me, or he would read my mail, is what I used to call it, was reading my mail. That this man could walk up to me, look me right in the eye, and tell me everything that I had been thinking, everything that I had been doing. And he was always spot on, really scary when you're a youngster. So I began the downward spiral. My dad had got his ministry license and had started preaching at different places. And we didn't get along very well because while he loved me, he didn't know how to deal with me because I was so independent, so strong willed, and so rebellious. So we argued a lot, we fought a lot. And he forced me to go to church every time the doors were open. So obviously and naturally, like most teenagers do, we thought we know better. So I actually went the opposite way. And I started listening to metal music. And then I found a real interest in the occult. And I started checking out books out of the school library about witchcraft, casting spells. And before you knew it, I literally found power in that. And I felt like, oh, maybe I do belong somewhere. I started tearing out pages of the Bible and burning them. I literally started writing down what I called my own language. And I kept like a journal. I was also really big into art. So I was drawing all kinds of demonic pictures of skulls and you name it. I had gone completely the opposite way. Uh, and it just, I got on a downward spiral and couldn't come out of it. Well, when I was 16, I actually ended up in an alcohol rehab. And I had already experienced and dabbled in cocaine and alcohol to the extent that I felt like I couldn't quit and I needed help. So I checked myself in. One night, it was really just kind of a joke. Me and my buddy went to the stress center, and we thought we were just going to mess around with them and take off. Well, little did we know, because we were minors, they had the right to detain us at that time, and they did. And next thing you know, I ended up doing a 30-day stint in the rehab facility. Um, and it just kind of went from there. I ended up graduating high school. I graduated with a 1.2, believe it or not, because I would walk in the front door of the school and walk out the back door. I mean, I don't think I was in class but maybe 3 months my whole senior year. Went into the military right after high school, got married. I got kicked out of the military for drugs and other things. I just couldn't toe the line, and they said that they thought I had mental problems. Well, I was actually dealing with demonic possession. And I had no idea that when I was reading the Satanic Bible and casting these spells and doing all these things in high school, what I was really doing. I was playing with some dark stuff that uh, I I never should have been playing with, and it opened up a lot of doors that shouldn't have been opened. So I ended up getting kicked out of the Navy. Then I decided to go to art college. So we moved out to Denver, Colorado. I was probably 19 at the time, 20, maybe 20, married at the time, but my alcoholism just got heavier and heavier and heavier. My drug addiction got worse and worse. And I remember being woken up in the middle of the night, talking to myself, started cutting myself. And one night I literally had just the craziest thing happened to me. I started hearing voices and they were telling me to kill myself. So I was in kind of like a trance, and I woke up and I was in the bathroom of our condo in Denver, Colorado, and I had cut myself, and in blood wrote all over the walls of our condominium and drew upside down crosses, and was literally having a full blown conversation with myself in the mirror. Well, I thought was myself. It was a demon. That next night, I ended up attacking somebody at a party, and I literally was going to kill them with a pair of scissors and myself. That's all I could think about was taking my own life. So this demonic possession had literally just kind of it just got worse and worse. And I ended up in Denver Hospital in a straitjacket, and I laid there for 3 or 4 days. They didn't know what to do with me because I didn't have insurance, and I was uh, smart enough. I literally talked my way out of it. They put me on a 48-hour hold, and I got out. They had to let me go eventually, and no charges were pressed or anything. But I ended up going back home, and this continued to happen every night. I was being tormented by this demon, and then one night I get a phone call from George Wilson. He's in Rolla, Missouri. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Had not talked to him in probably a year and a half. He calls me. I pick up the phone, and he says, "Jason, this is George." And I'm like, "Oh boy!" I knew I was in for something. Uh, and so George began to prophesy over me, and he read my mail, told me exactly what I was dealing with. He even named the demon that I was dealing with. He said I was being tormented by a demon by the name of Incubus. And He said, you need deliverance. You need to go to Happy Church. And at the time, that was a ministry of Marilyn Hickey, and it happened to be a large church in the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. And we started. I told my wife at the time, I need deliverance. We need to go to this church. We need to go to this church. And so we agreed. So we loaded up our stuff, and we started head to Happy Church on a Wednesday night. Lo and behold, that night on the way there, I got a flat tire. Church started at 7. It was 6. I got a flat tire. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, great. Uh, and so I got out, I changed the tire, and I was just drenched in sweat at this time because it was hot. I had grease and stuff covered all over my church clothes. And I kept saying, well, we need to turn around. We need to turn around. And my wife kept saying, no, you need to listen to George. We're going. We're going. And so I ended up driving there. And as I pulled up into the lot, um, I could definitely feel fear inside of me. I began to shake and tremble. I began to hear just over and over and over again in my mind curse words. And I can't even begin to repeat what I seen, the visions I was seeing in my head. And it was this demon. This demon knew what was getting ready to happen, and it did not want to cooperate with the process at all. And so we made our way into the church, and I thought, well, I'm going to sit in the very, very back and just kind of check it out and hang low. And so we did. We went up into the balcony uh, in the very back of the church, and the service began. Um, and this is a good stopping point for part one of my testimony. I am going to release part two here pretty soon. I hate to do that to you, but I want to keep these videos short to keep your interest. But it's a rather long testimony. But this is kind of the beginning of uh, how I started being led to my ministry that I have now. But tune in next time, and we'll pick up where we left off. Thanks again for joining. This is part of One Life Ministries. If you could do me a favor and hit like and then hit the bell and subscribe. I've got great things planned for the future. We're going to start doing some live streaming from our services on Thursday night. And I'm also going to come on here and do some ministry shorts and speak to you what the Lord has been speaking to me. So until the next episode, it's been nice talking to you. God bless.